Shanti, Nelly, Glorilla, LMA, Maya, Joe, D Nice and Friends, featuring SWV, Donnell Jones, Case, Sunshine Anderson, and Kenny Burns, the Isley Brothers, El DeBarge, Stephanie Mills, and so many more. March 7th and 8th, Hard Rock Stadium. Tickets and info at jazzinthegardens.com. Jazzinthegardens.com.
Hello, and thank you for joining us again today. Again, I'm Stephanie Van Vark, Just Talking Business, and I'm still a small business owner. But this special series, we are talking to special guests because we want to hear what their thoughts are around DEI. That's diversity, equity, and inclusion, and do we need that in business? Because that's been a hot topic subject now for a minute. So I am bringing on board, and you will see, Miss Roni Bennett. She is from the South Florida People of Color organization and has been an author regarding this subject matter. So let me tell you her bio real quick so we can get into the meat of the matter.
Yeah.
So we have Roni Bennett is the executive director of the South Florida People of Color, a nonprofit driving equity, inclusion, and dialogue across diverse communities. She leads initiatives that help organizations move beyond awareness to action, creating space where people can unlearn bias, build trust, and lead with empathy. Through programs like Awkward Dinners and Unity 360 Dialogues, Roni bridges business and social impact, showing that equity isn't just good for communities, it's smart for business, which is exactly what we want to hear about today. And thank you so much for joining us.
Good to be here. Thank you.
To make
for
you
inviting
sit
me.
down as I read off all these wonderful things about you.
Thank you.
So thank you for joining us. And when I talked about doing this series, immediately your name came up. I guess because, you know, you've been a champion of this for a while, and also because you've written articles and really developed information around DEI. So my first question for you is, what's your position and do you think we need it? Let's start with the question on the flyer. Do you think we need it? Okay.
Of course. The thing is, DEI was introduced like back in the 60s, right? And it's
Right.
for risk management. So when you get those discrimination suits, they used to use DEI for the training to, repair what was done. So it's not just political. It's not charity. It's like, people treat it like, well, they should treat it because it attracts, good, it attracts, really qualified people. Because that's the point, is to increase your talent pool, right? And then you want to make sure when they come into your organization, they feel like it's fair, they feel like they do belong, because you can get people, and then you have a culture where it's going to be like, well, you got to act this way. You need to be able to be your authentic self. And that's where the innovation and the creativity comes, when you have diverse people in your organization. So it's good. It's good business sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I mean, let's talk about small business. I'm a small business, obviously a Black-led business. And I probably was a recipient of some of the benefits that came out of DEI. But do we think in terms of business, because I know it started as a way of developing employment opportunities, but in terms of business, what are we seeing? What kind of shift are we seeing right now? Very quickly, as a matter of fact, very early within this new administration, happened to businesses that are being impacted by this eradication of DEI.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've seen some of the studies that have been done. Actually, people that bring in diverse workforce, they make more money. Okay, right? They make more money. And let me see, I was trying to see if I had the numbers on that.
Actually, I see it in your article. I think you said,
Yeah, right.
if I look at it, I can repeat what you said.
Yeah.
The data is striking. Gender diverse executive teams are 39% more likely to achieve above average profitability,
Right.
while ethnically diverse teams outperform by 36%.
Right. I mean,
So it impacts
the bottom line.
Right. So Why?
So what's not to
Who
like?
are
What's not
these
to like?
culprits that are so willing to rip this apart? And what does it serve? Who will it serve? Why is that is so important for us to
Yeah,
remove it?
that's what I feel. In you could even see it in the NFL, right? You see where they have all these coaches, but only three are black, and 70% of the people are black. But I don't think some of these people don't care. They don't really care. I hate to say that. They don't care about that, you know? And that's sad to say. But again, if you bring people in and they can't be their authentic self and be able to contribute, have a voice, feel that things are fair, in the long run, you're going to have some problems because they're going to leave. And it costs a lot to replace that person, which, maybe these people, again, I don't really think they care. I think some of it, there's a lot of organizations that still doing the DEI, right? Like Costco's, Apple, JP Morgan, they didn't fall back on it. But, I think a lot of these folks, it was just performative to them. It was kind of like after George Floyd, it was like, oh, let me get on the bandwagon, but they weren't really invested in it because this is a long-term thing. This is not like a DEI training, one training workshop. It's not. This is a journey, you know?
Continual investment
Yes,
into
and they weren't willing to do that.
communities that are, yeah,
And
yeah.
don't think I don't see that how they folded real quick, real quick. So,
Okay, so let's talk about. So when this first started, we launched this idea of the boycott. Now I'll be the first to say it, and I'll say it out loud. I didn't think that was the best strategy. I
boycott of
think it's
what?
a
I'm sorry.
boycott.
Okay.
The plan to boycott the three main retailers.
Okay.
I thought that was a short term solution. I did not feel like that could be something that we could one sustain, primarily because we don't have any big box office retailers. But what's the is that something that will set the groundwork for how we are to thrive
Yeah. So,
as a result of it? Now, what are
yeah.
your thoughts? I mean,
So my thought on that, I like boycotts, right?
okay,
But it has to be organized well. I just see sometimes pop up, yeah, we're gonna do this. Yeah, it's just
right.
not planned. I mean, if you know the Birmingham when they did theirs, that was over a year, and you had mutual aid. You had people picking people up. Okay, this wasn't just, hey, let's just boycott, right?
It
You
wasn't
know,
a simple feat.
it wasn't. It
We
wasn't. So
had to
that's the problem
commit.
because organizations respond to money.
That's true.
It's about profits. It's about revenue, and so they will respond to that. I mean, look at Targets, right? I don't go there anymore. But, I mean, it does affect them, but it has to be really organized. I think we had a conversation about it has to be organized, and it just kind of flip it like, yeah, we're gonna like boycott this one now. Oh, that one over there, and then there's different ones talking about different companies.
And I
You
think
know,
that was my frustration a
yeah,
little bit
that's
of
the
it
problem.
was it was, you know, when you think about the boycott in Birmingham, there was a real conscious effort to have a strategy behind it.
Yes,
You
yes, that's
know,
the word.
this isn't just about boycotting buses. This is to change policy.
Exactly.
Right.
It's
And
about
this is the
policy.
strategy by which to get there. We're going to have to be uncomfortable, but we're going to get there.
Yeah,
I didn't see that same kind of
right.
strategy.
Well, it's not really working, is it? Because they're talking about Amazon. I bet y'all still going to Amazon.
I mean, think of Amazon, Walmart, and Target. The
Walmart, Target.
three largest big box
Yeah, I
retailers.
bet. Yeah, I bet some of them still going to Walmart.
Like,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
know
where am
it.
I
It's
supposed
not
to go get
working.
soap? Like, I don't. But
And what bothers me, this DEI was way before that guy that's heading this country, but it was before that. It was I call it our governor. I didn't want to say what I call him. He did this before. This was before even Trump. It was our governor was really like the Stop Woke program, and he was scaring people. He was scaring people, so that's why they just kind of like. But I felt that they didn't really care. I mean, they weren't really committed anyway. They weren't ready for
So
that.
then, okay, then let's start at the beginning then. You know, and again, I've read your article. It seems like
Hmm.
you've really thought through, you know, what's
Yeah.
right about it, what's wrong about it. Let's talk about what was right about DEI from its inception to today, because, you know, it originated for employment. It really became a strong driver for business. What was right about it, and then what went wrong that scared the powers to be to say, okay, we need to.
Well, yes, I will say I think the powers to be, they're racist, so that was that problem, and we all know that it's about keeping the good old boys in power, right? So and because if you're always in power, you don't really have to work as hard, and you have people of color, because I don't like to use minority because we are a majority in the world. Um, but that's kind of the problem. They're intimidated by that, and we have to work like three times. So that's getting your muscle up. Just think if you're working all the time, trying to get better, trying to get better, you are better, and they don't have to be better. So they're intimidated. But I mean, but if you look at DEI, if it's done right, because I don't know all what everybody's been doing. Like I said, if you're just doing a one-off training, that's not going to do much. But you want it to bring in. You first of all, you want to increase the talent pool to choose from.
Mhm.
And not
Yeah.
just the same old good old boys and girls. That's most of the time they're not even qualified, but just because of your skin color, I guess you're qualified, right? And
Right.
so you have that, and then you want to retain them. They have to have that psychological safety where they can speak up, give ideas, and not be, punished for it, right? So again, if you look at the article, they're, diverse organizations are much more innovative. You don't get that group think. And if
Yeah.
you look at,
Exactly.
yeah, right, you don't get that group think.
Exactly.
If though, I mean, you can still get that group think if you don't feel the safety to speak up, though. So that's why you have to transform the culture. It's not just, you have to say, well, you can come as yourself, even though, you got to be careful with that too with some
Right. Right.
people.
Right.
But
Right.
you can be your authentic self and give ideas and really participate in the culture. And so we're talking, getting quality talent, retaining those talent, having them feel that they're safe to be able to contribute, and they feel that it's fair. That's the equity part, right? You need to be paying me what you pay him for the same job, right? That's what that means. So, I don't even like to say DEI. I like to say diversity, equity, and inclusion because you're against that.
Right.
And
That's my
and here's the
thing.
other deal. Here's the other deal. Your customer base is multicultural. So
Because
so
we've
you know what
determined
I mean? It's
we spend money.
exactly
There's a
right.
lot of folks that spend money.
That's been
So,
money. And then you have that risk. You got to mitigate risk because you see how some of these organizations, with an all white PR team or marketing, they do some crappy stuff like little boy, black boy with a monkey. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah,
they
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
miss
You didn't even
things.
get the sensitivity of that.
Yes, right. They don't know.
Right.
They don't know. So if you had someone on that team and one that's feeling safety that they could speak up, just because you got some black people or Latin people or doesn't mean that you're still going to get that innovation, but they have to feel like it's safe to do so. And that's what all this is. That's what it teaches them, anti-bias, but also, it's like looking at, how you hire, how you retain, how you, promote, people for the work that they do. And let me,
But
go
I
ahead.
so
I
I
talk
think
too
what
much.
we're trying to align. No, no, this is good because I think, when I look at business, I think we're trying to when there are these verses out there making America great again. It's going back to a time where there was a certain group of people who were quote unquote in power, and everybody else was second class citizens. Um, we're
That's
too
what they
globally
mean, right? Isn't that what
inclined
they
at
mean?
this point.
We're too what? I'm sorry.
We're
Because
too
I'm talking.
globally inclined, like we're too globally intertwined at this point
We
to
are.
realistically go back there without derailing ourselves. And
Exactly.
and I'm like I'm not even a statistician. Like I can't even give you analytics on that. Just looking in the world and how we operate, you can see there's too much at stake. So what is it they're not seeing? And
Ooh.
how do we get out from under their sight? Because if right now, if they fall, we fall. Because there's nothing
And maybe
else.
that's what we have to do. But anyway, maybe that's it. But
I keep talking about that.
yeah. So, what are they thinking? Man, I just think they have biases. And if you look at this culture of, and we could just look at South Florida. Look how multicultural it is, right? Right? And I will say we used to do DEI training, or I don't like to say training because it was more of transformation of, and so we relied on that. But I noticed we didn't do things like a PowerPoint and all that. We more immersive. We have them talking. They learn stuff, but also, they act it out with each other. And let me tell you, it was also like it was leadership. It came to be leadership development. It was like, getting the employees to fucking talk to each other. I didn't mean to
Right.
say it, because they didn't.
Beep.
Yeah, right. That's yeah. Give me some beep beeps. So just bringing the culture together, and then having them understand storytelling of other folks' issues. Some of the stuff they didn't like, oh, I didn't even know we were doing this to you. They don't, not at all.
They're not in. So, have you found one, the mindset shifted after you did these transformations? And what did that look like in the workplace and in the business place?
Yeah, so man, what we were doing was a lot of the leadership team at first, and then we went down to the employees because you got to do the leadership team.
Correct. Correct.
And
It's got to come from the top down. Yes.
yeah, so this is one organization here in my church. I don't know if I should, say who they are, but they really wanted, and maybe because it was women that was running this. I don't mean to put men, but it was, they did. Well, matter of fact, they were the ones that kind of forced me. It was during COVID, and they were like, "No, we got it," because we still did awkward dinners there with them. We did our community, we call it community, but we had dialogues with the bigger team. We did surveys so they can get the pulse of what their employees are thinking, and boy, you find a lot, especially if it's anonymous and things like that.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. I agree.
Yeah, so you do that so they can see what's happening. And this particular organization was more community based. That they're building is community based, and they were like wondering, well, how come we just get just white people that comes to our thing. And it was like people were intimidated. They didn't feel like they were welcome. You know, and that's what inclusivity means. It's like you have programs, but it's the employees that decide if it's working, if they feel like they belong, right? So, but I see it. They go reach out for local Black and Latina folks, for the art, for this. So it's embracing the whole community, not just the people with the money, because that's what people
Mm-hmm.
are. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the people with the money are white men. So it changed, and they're like, I'm like so proud of them. Like I said, I'm proud of y'all.
So you have seen a shift. So okay, then let's talk solution. What would you advise? I guess um, the business ecosystem, particularly the startup ecosystem. Um, Now that we are in a new day, as to as to what's the fix, and I'll tell you where I'm coming from that. Um, you know, I the idea that a group of folks came along and ripped away something that fundamentally, systematically should be built into how we operate it is one of those things that probably was a little frustrating for me. And so, as a business owner, I'm really trying to shift more of a dynamic where we there is that sense of power. No matter what, my skin color shouldn't have any bearing on any of this. At the end of the day, if I can deliver, then I'm
Doesn't
just as
matter.
credible as anybody else.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, what are systems that are being put in place, or what is your advice, or what's the guidance? How do we get these small businesses sort of back on track, and with that rethink, that shift mindset to get to that place of not just surviving but thriving because you know you can and you know you bring to the table
Right.
that.
Yeah. And we're talking small companies because,
Well, let's talk small companies first, but yeah, we got to talk big companies too. I mean,
hmm
this has become a political weapon and against private corporations who in some cases are buying into it. So what's the
they
issue?
struck it down, so they don't. There's nothing, quote unquote, stopping them. It's just that there's retaliation. So I'm going to be realistic, you know. But like I said, it seemed like they cut the cord real quick, you know, and
That's
and,
when the
and
green look
so
when the green started looking
yeah,
funny.
and that's the thing, right? So you know, so the Stop Woke Act was struck down. Private organizations can do DEI, but the thing is, what the government is saying to them is, well, you know what, and this is not on paper, you won't get those, government contracts if you have DEI. So right there is like, right. But the thing is, you know what you could do? You don't have to call it DEI. You could call it fairness. You could call it, what are some of the things?
Or not call it at all. Just make
Right,
sure
just
it's
do it.
systemically baked into
Exactly. You don't have
your
to say
process.
DEI. You don't have to say employee innovation program or something. You don't have to call it DEI. That's just the acronym, and you don't even have to call it diversity, equity, inclusion, which I like to do. But you could change the language of that. And again, what like for a smaller, you need to. I think you could start if you're especially a small organization. You should talk to your employees. You know, find out, and especially the ones that's kind of quiet. Talk to your staff and see, what they're thinking, right? What's the issues? You do an assessment of what some of the issues are, because this is not really about some. It's about so your company and your employees can thrive. Isn't that what we want? And make money, and everybody's happy and innovative, and you don't get lawsuits for discrimination, right? Right. So that's the first thing. You need to kind of look at maybe the patterns of how you hire. Maybe you need to open that up some more, because that's the problem. They'll go to the same, Ivy League schools. That's what they do with the government, right? It's like you got to be from Yale and Harvard and all those places. Not if you're black. It seems like that seems to be a problem. But so then you also look at the turnover. Turnover. Why are people leaving? You got to do an assessment of what's happening in your, because each one is different, right? You know, like I said, promotions. You got to see who's getting promoted, who's not. Because there'll be people doing all the work, and it's like if if you're friends with the VP or whatever, you do better without doing anything.
That's morale.
Yes. So if you're really a good employee, you ain't gonna stay. So is
Right.
that what you want?
Because you don't value me.
Yeah,
So
you don't
I gotta go
value.
somewhere else.
So you got to look at that. This is human nature. This is being
Yes. Yes.
fair. This is being, you know
Yes.
what I mean? This
Yes.
shouldn't be like some kind of step 1 and 3. Just be a good person.
But now let's talk leaders. Um, it's clear now in this space, we are in need of those folks that can step out and help us in preparation. Now that we're in a new day, we're operating in a new way, how there needs to be, if not individuals, groups, entities, you know, who are those folks? Who can be those folks that can? I mean, DEI is an example of the shift of the system. And it's probably to my mind one of the biggest shifts because it's connected to money. It's connected to economics. It's impacting, employment. When you're looking at a large percentage of African American women are losing their jobs,
That's the government.
to small businesses who are now sort of not being supported in the same and invested in the same way that they had been.
Hmm.
Um, so, who are some of the people that could and should be taking the reins to help guide us into the new?
Yeah, that's a hard one because one thing that this whole shift showed us, and that I think it's 300, or I've even heard more black women being
I've heard
laid
more.
off. I heard it was more. Yeah,
Really?
yeah,
Wow.
it's
I
even.
know somebody recently that just got laid off. Yeah.
Yeah, right, and that's a retaliation, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That 92
Absolutely.
percent.
It was a
Remember?
symbol. It was
That was
symbolism.
like, all right, y'all need to get back in place. But that's what bothers me, right? Because this is bigger than just DEI, right? This is bigger. And the thing is that, and I hate to say that, as a black woman, black person, it's like we don't have any damn power. That's what it shows. We don't have any infrastructure. Where's our banks? Where's our, we are dependent on these people, and they know it. So that's a problem, right?
So you can come in and rip a DEI.
Right?
You can. So what's the but
We
that
don't own
because
anything.
we've determined economically that's not going to last because our economics are too
I know.
it's too important. So how now while we are in this place, how do we set ourselves up to survive and thrive,
Yes.
you know, while the mayhem occurs?
Stephanie, this is an awkward dinner, babe. I need a bunch of people to have that conversation. But I will say, right? We got to get the right people in here. I always sat around to myself with a bunch of smart people, and we all contribute to it. But, but I mean, the thing is, I think we need to be a little bit united, and we're not. All right, and it's so weird when this all was happening. People just looking at me like I had two or three heads. I'm like, look, we need to build community, right? And we need to take care of each other. And that part was like, what? Take care of each other. We know people, we all got different skills we can bring to the table. There's too many lawyers here. We got lawyers, we got some doctors, we got some people who have farms. You know what I mean? We need to unite first. And I think I have something on my website. Unity is the immunity, for our liberation. We have to, and we have to do some mutual aid, you know, and that's what we have to come together. And it doesn't have to be all black people, just people with the same mindset, right? Because we are people of color, and it can be white people too. But it's like we have to do that, and then we need to build some things. I mean, come on. Even if it doesn't make, it. I remember. I think it was like like the Haitian community and the Southern community, how they would pull their money together, and then each month someone would get some of the money. You remember
Right.
that?
Right. Yeah, that was. Wait,
What was that
I
called?
don't they do something like that now? Actually,
Probably.
some people.
You we need to.
It's supposed to be based on an African proverb. I thought.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, 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 yeah.
But
Yeah,
okay,
I
so
know some stuff.
because how that's why you see what's happening on the social media about, hey, let's do that. Everybody has their own, let's do this, let's do that, and it's scattered. We need, like
Correct,
you were
correct, correct.
saying, we need to come together, organize, have a strategy,
Right.
right? So
And
that's the
then
first thing we need
really
to do.
activate.
So that's what we need to do,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's hard,
I
isn't it?
It is. It is. I think but I hate to say it, situations like this out of necessity does cultivate
Yes,
those
you better.
opportunities for potential. So, I feel like it'll happen. It'll unfortunately happen out of necessity, but
Well,
it
Stephanie, you
will
could be the leader. You could be the leader of that.
happen.
It's so funny. I
Sure.
mentioned it to people like, you need to do that, and they're like, well, we got to eat first. We got to. Because we ain't got any money.
That part. So we just, to our point, that's when we get to a place of stabilization, people of color, where we're stable and we meet a quality of life.
Right.
At that point, you do have a little bit more power because you're
Right.
not beholden to anybody. Once you're beholden to somebody,
Yes. Well, that's what it is. And if you look back, because I always say this, and you're seeing it, we they're saying how black women are the most educated, right? But I'm like, but also they probably have the most debt as a result. They don't talk about that part. We all want to be PhDs and all that.
you
Well,
talk about wealth building. It's
yes,
hard to wealth build when you owe folks.
exactly. You gotta work for somebody.
You got to get those bill paid, and you're
Exactly.
locked into these long-term interest payments that are just
Right.
draining you to
And
death.
that's just slavery. I mean, that's what it is. It's economic slavery.
Yeah, it just locks you
It locks you
into
in.
never being able to really elevate. So how do we? So we have, as a community, I agree, got to have some of those awkward
Yes, we
conversations,
do.
those awkward dinners,
Dinners, awkward dinners.
where we can really think through how do
Yes.
we stabilize, and that's not in the exclusion of anyone else. It's
No.
not that at all. It's
Yeah.
really about like-minded folks who
Exactly.
recognize the need for us to
I
elevate
love it.
together.
With our awkward dinners, it's about bringing diverse people and ideas together, to have these uncomfortable conversations, because this is uncomfortable. And you'll be surprised. There's a lot of differences. And it's structured, it's facilitated by, trained facilitators. Not just we all get the food and drinks are good, but, you got to have, yeah. So it's not, this is like, we're going to come out with something at the end, you know and it's about that, yeah. So and and the guest list is curated, so you want a lot of different people, but someone is going to bring something to the table, and not just eat your food and that's it, right?
Right,
So
right.
yeah.
Well, I will definitely be in touch with you with regards to
Yes.
that. Before you go, the last question I'd like to ask is, how do we find you?
Ooh, how do you find me? Okay, so okay, you can always email me. People are always doing it, and I have a lot of emails, but R Bennett at southfloridapoc.org. Even though I have others that I like better, but that's a good one. And check out our website, southfloridapoc.org. Always got to, get, you know, it's a good website. Let me put it that way, but it needs to be.
Yeah, it is. It really is
Oh,
actually
thank
very
you.
informative. Very informative.
Yeah.
When I looked at your article, I was looking at other stuff and
Do
like,
you see
yeah,
some of the there's some other articles in there you need to read
yeah.
though.
As a matter of fact, when I Googled you, I saw you had an article in, I think, the Herald around this.
Well, I didn't have the art.
The
They kind of
Herald?
they yeah. Matter of fact, yeah, it was yeah, it was interesting. It was I think it said we in trouble because that's where I was making my money was from. And I'm just being real here. From the DEI stuff. It wasn't just about making money though, but that's how we were able. We were not acting like a nonprofit. We were doing fee for service, and then that got cut. That cut. And that's fine. We're doing both. We're still doing. There's still some organizations out there that want to do this. So, but we do need like a good sponsor, someone that really believes in this. So we are not just. We're just. We'll have like, okay, we're having an awkward dinner now. But everybody's like, what's the next one? I'm like, when I get some money.
When I get some money, exactly,
That's
exactly. Look, it's
that's
an
how I was looking.
easy thing to say, but
They
it's
all want it. Oh, and it's like, and they always say to us, you're doing good work. I'm like, then give me some money then.
I
I'm
know,
playing, but I'm not.
I know, right?
Yeah, right. If it's so good, so and we try to make it where it's free to people, but I'm not. I don't think that's going to happen anymore.
Yeah. And I will say that there's a rethink, I guess, as to how you operate these
Yes.
days for sure. So, but yes, I will be in touch with you with regard to
Yes.
that for sure. Thank you for your time and thank you
Great.
for your thoughts.
It was great
Um,
meeting you. This was
let's
great.
try to, yeah, and let's try to, keep the
Definitely.
conversation going for sure.
Absolutely. I love it.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and we will see you next time. Just talking business, DEI. Do we need it for business?